Good to hear from both Lasse Andresen and Maxi Fleischmann after a chaotic DD2 race. Now we go to DD2 Masters. 7 rows, 14 competitors. And effectively, well, I see another familiar face. We've got Barry Pullinger. Good to see you. Axel Sarniala as well. Roberto Pajewski. My goodness. Euro Trophy winner and Grand Finals champion in DD2 Masters last year at Sarno. Good to have you with us. Congratulations, Maxi Fleischmann, says Conrad Bayer on Facebook. So the grid is as follows. Sebastian Rumpelhardt lines up on pole position from Germany. Tom Dessau from Belgium. Then it is a all-British row 2 with James Beecroft racing with Sodi Vitesse and Tamsin Germain in the 525 will be alongside. Alessandro Glauser and Rudi Champion ran out the top 3 rows ahead of Christophe Adams and Michael Becker representing France and Germany. I know who you're pining for, who you're wishing is going to win on this one, Conrad, but it's anyone's guess. We then have Andreas Schindler. Good to see him and his fiancée Nadine here with us this weekend. They made a very long trek from Campos a couple of weeks ago, around about 30 or 34 hours, I think, if memory serves me correctly, from Campos back home to Germany. Tanya Yildiz is in 10th position ahead of Greece's Christoforos Gratsias. Roland Kinch in 12th ahead of Marco Schelp and Karl Klebold, who was originally on pole position but excluded post-qualifying. So De Backer will have work to do. But the question is, how quickly will he end up at the front of the field? That is my pivotal question here. 14 minutes on the clock, set to count down the moment the red lights on the starting gantry, which are currently ignited, go out. So it is Rumpelhardt on pole position. Dessert alongside, followed by Beecroft, Germain, Glauser, Champion, Adams, Becker, Schindler, Yildiz, Gracias, Kinch, Schelp and Klebold. Full start has been called. A bit too spaced out on that particular occasion in terms of the gap differentials between the drivers. So I'm going to be the verbal commentator. Conrad Bayer is going to be the writing kind. And you should know very well, my friend, because you have competed over many a time with that individual. So they're heading down into turn 7. Rumpelhardt will stand. Again, we'll try and get things underway very, very shortly. Rumpelhardt on pole. Dessert alongside. Then it's Beecroft, Germain, Glauser, Champion, Christophe Adams, Michael Becker, Andreas Schindler, Tanya Yildiz, Grazias from Greece, Kinch from Great Britain, Schelp from New Zealand, and Klebold from Belgium, a.k.a. De Backer. He was, well, his nickname previously was a bit too long, the fastest baker in Flanders, and I'm glad I've got enough time to say that on this particular occasion. So let's see what happens over the next 14 minutes plus an additional lap, shall we? Race director telling them to slow down. We go into the tram lines. There's a bit of bunching up on the left-hand side of the grid as the wind picks up. And this time we do go lights out and Roland Kinch. Now, James Beecroft is actually... James Beecroft... Now, I'm just keeping an eye on what is going on at the front of the field. There is a lot of action happening, and it is from 4th onwards. As I think that's Christophe Adams. As now, is that Karl Klebold halfway through the field, and we haven't even got through turn 7 yet? That is the case. So James Beecroft, I think, came out of the dummy grid, possibly. So Beecroft would have started alongside Germain on row number 2, as it's definitely not getting any easier out there for these drivers. As Christoph Adams trying to go up the inside of Andreas Schindler. Oh, and Schindler has to put a save on there going through turn 12. Sideways from Schindler, controlled it as Adams tries to stick his nose in there, as Germain is battling away with Beecroft and Schelp towards the back part of the field, so it's not getting easy out there at all as Germain gets passed out for position, and that might have been by James Beecroft, but at the front of the field it could be changing very shortly, as that might have been, just keeping an eye on seeing who's actually where at the moment. Now I see that Rudy Champion that looks to be in 3rd place at the moment. So the drivers now making their way through turn 10, now into 11. And the driver leading that way is Tom Dessert in the 5:30. Then it's Glauser, who's now going to get passed by Carl Klebold, of all people, now up into P2. So Carl Klebold on the hustle. Let's see what his lap time was last time around. 1 minute 2.9. Tom Dessert's got clean air, so it's going to run. Could we have driver DD2 412? That's DD2 driver 412 to the stewards immediately, please. So that's driver DD2 412, which is Gilles Puellings. Please head to the stewards immediately. As there's more changes for position, as both Tamsin Germain and Michael Becker have got past. Is that Alessandro Glauser that's dropping? That might be the case, because probably right behind is... Oh, now there's been a little bit of a coming together there between Tamsin Germain and Michael Becker. And Becker ended up off of 4 wheels for a minute. And that has allowed Glauser to get back up in front. And at the moment, the lead is still in the hands of Tom Dessert, who's just put in a 58.8 flat. That is the fastest lap of this race. We still have quite a bit of a duration, but we now have, unfortunately, Sebastian Rumpelhardt and James Beecroft out of the running. So Christoph Adams has dropped all the way down to what is 12th. Now there's the replay. Germain had the inside line. Becker went to turn to go round the corner and has ended up on the left-hand side. The 2 wheels have gone up and put him in the air. So Germain was going for a move, but I think with the conditions as they are, the drivers are going to still go for that gap. Now, hang on. I think I just saw someone off of the entry into turn 10. Now, someone's coming into the pits. So there's another driver in the pits. Christoph Adams now in the pits. So Adams now brings us down to 11 competitors, as that is Rudy Champion being chased by Marco Schelp, who's running under the New Zealand flag. Oh, nice work from the Kiwi. That's a brilliant job there. Up into P3. Past Champion, the Winter Cup DD2 Masters winner. So... and Klebold has tumbled all the way down. Now, was that him pulling in the pits? Was that a problem from Carl Klebold? So already, the field is dropping. I'm not going to say dropping like flies, because the fact is, you say that, and most of the field will be gone by that particular moment in time. Just over 9 minutes to go. And at the minute, there is Tanya Yildiz, who is actually closing on Champion. Of all people. So Tanya Yildiz, this is a great equaliser for him, because he goes up the inside of Champion and manages to make the move stick before going through turn 12. That's a great job from Tanya Yildiz, who is up into P4. That's brilliant work from the German in 572. And Yildiz is running sub 60 seconds in this race. That's brilliant work from him. 59.896, the 3rd quickest driver on the circuit at the moment. Running order at the minute. Tom Dessert from Belgium leads by 12. Now, the rain is starting to come down a little bit heavier now. So we have had, well, 5 drivers. There's 2 that have pulled into the pits. Andreas Schindler being one of them. Cole Clearborts. Right, Cole Clearborts retired. Andreas Schindler retired. Christoph Adams retired. Rumpelhart retired. James Beecroft retired. You could now possibly add Greece's Christoforos Gratsias to that list. We are down to 8 drivers, having started with 14. And we're not even at half-time in this race. As here is Michael Becker on the inside of Rudy Champion through turn 2. Makes the move stick by the apex of turn 3, but Champion tries to stick his nose in up the inside of turn 4. Couldn't quite make it through to the PKS Competition driver. So still a lot of time left. We are actually at half time now as Tom Dessert from Belgium comes through the final corner to complete lap number 7. And here comes Tamsin Germain in the 5:25 from Great Britain, running in 2nd position. See what the gap is between Dessert and Germain as Champion keeps an eye on, well, tries to keep pace with Becker. So Schelp rounds out the top 3. Yildiz 4th. And Becker now in 5th place ahead of Champion, having done that move through turn 2 and 3 earlier on. And Champion tries to go a bit braver on the brakes, but with the way that, I mean, from my perspective on the commentary box window, it shows us a spittle, but I know that when a race driver's visor gets hit with even the smallest amount of rain showers, it's intensified sometimes as well. So it can sometimes be quite difficult to it doesn't disorientate it. It doesn't really help to differentiate between, you'll know with a clear visor with no rain on it that you'll have a better understanding of measuring your braking points, knowing when you have to turn in on the apex, that kind of thing. So it is about judging things as much as possible, and who knows, it's going to be interesting to see. But the gap between Tom Dessert and Tamsin Germain we'll find out whether there is going to be a few changes, and there is a change. Now that is now Andreas Schindler has rejoined. Clairbort has as well. Now the biggest point I have to put out there is that, okay, there's only 2 races, but where you end up at the end of this race helps your opportunity. So it's going to make it quite interesting in the dynamic of how the how you're going to find with regards to as there's more battling away, and that is Schindler trying to hustle his way past Rudy Champion. Tamsin Germain is now putting in the hot laps. So the Brit is the fastest driver out of everyone out on the circuit. 58.334 is her best lap so far of this race. She's got the gap down between her and Tom Dessert, who's currently leading, to around 10.7 seconds. And we have 4 minutes and 10 to go, plus an additional lap. So there is still plenty of this race. There is time in this race for anything to happen. We know in motorsport that it pretty much can do. So there is the 5:33 of Marco Schelp representing New Zealand. And is about to come across the start-finish line. And now Germain and Dessert are quite consistently, they're comparable on lap times. A 58.755 from Tom Dessert and a 58.775 on the last time around from Tamsin Germain. So we do have 5 retirements. We're back up to 9 competitors because Andreas Schindler is still wanting to, I think everyone has eyes on that ticket to Le Mans. I know some drivers who would have been here this weekend would have loved to have had that opportunity had they got onto the top step and make use of these weather conditions. So there is still an opportunity for drivers to do so. Whether that is the case, whether it does happen, whether it does transpire by the end of the weekend, is anyone's guess. Yours is as good as mine. So at the moment, Dessert leads. Germain crosses the line. Gap now nearly 10.9 seconds. Marco Schelp now crosses the line and will be 10.2 seconds behind Tamsin Germain. Next up will be Tanju Yildiz as Andreas Schindler looks to just get some seat time. So Yildiz 33.4 seconds off of Dessert. Michael Becker was 0.23 of a second quicker than Yildiz on that lap, but he is 3.3 seconds adrift. Or 4.3 seconds adrift, my apologies. Yildiz gets sideways, putting on the anchors. The weather looks to be, the rain's coming sideways and it's intensifying. So we have more rain on the cards and it looks that way, I'm sorry to say, for the rest of the afternoon. The downpour's really coming in. It's seriously coming in right now. Air temperature 10 degrees Celsius. There is a south-southwesterly wind of nearly 30 kilometers per hour, 19 miles an hour. And the chance of rain was originally 40%, it's now 80. So we are fast approaching the end of this race. And kudos to those that have stuck it out as Michael Becker gets a little bit closer to Tanju Yildiz. So Yildiz now just trying to do what he can as Michael Becker does a Matthias Ekstrom kind of shortcut on that curve, but he was still two wheels on the circuit. Yildiz goes sideways, the right rear wheel. Oh, and he goes spinning! He goes spinning, does Yildiz. And he's punched the steering wheel in front. He's gone, put his hand up saying, sorry. And I'm sure that the other hand is probably, gripping the steering wheel tightly, and he's probably kicking himself because he was on for a 4th place finish right there and then. So that was very, very lucky where he did spin on the outside of the apex at turn number 5. So we are into the penultimate lap when it comes to Tom Dessert and Tamsin Germain. Now, Becker is getting... You can just see the amount of steering input that he's had to put in there. So Yildiz now is... Schindler trying to lean into the corner there, leans to the left of the car. The right front wheel goes up. So there is... The biggest thing is that even with the wet weather tyres, you're going to have an issue that if you go into a corner too hot, you're going to understeer. Right, Dessert leads by 14.487 seconds as Tanju Yildiz is being passed by, that's Roland Kinch. So Roland Kinch definitely helping his cause no end as we now are on the penultimate lap of the race. So I'm just keeping an eye on where drivers are at the moment. So Tom Dessert coming around the final corner as Tamsin Germain will now exit turn 11 as Dessert crosses the start-finish line for the penultimate time. So Dessert 14.594 seconds ahead of Germain. Schelp will come across the line, I think, pretty shortly. And is struggling a little bit there, I think, because he's down in 3rd place. Michael Becker has got in front. Rudy Champion now on the back bumper of the 533 and has got passed up the inside of turn 2. So Schelp having a bit of difficulty in the latter stages of this race. And now with the rain starting to intensify that little bit more, even Dessert is struggling, and he's coming through turn 9. You can just see how much of a crawl and how much input they're having to put in because their shoulders are going to be hurting after this one. Especially when you're having to put in a lot of steering correction, and he's just tentatively coming through turn 11. Now he buries the throttle down a little bit to get to turn 12. Turns in. You can see the kart understeering, and he goes really wide towards the outside of the corner very, very quickly there. But the checkered flag will wave for Tom Dessert, who just who puts one hand, so like, yes, I've done it, and just slows down to a crawl, as if to show that everything has gone his way. Tamsin Germain, well done to her for second position, 14.043 seconds off of Tom Dessert. Michael Becker rounds out the top 3 ahead of Piquet's Competitions Rudy Champion. Then we'll have Alessandro Glauser, it looks like, has just crossed the line in 5th ahead of Marco Schelp, who's running under the New Zealand flag here this weekend. And then we'll have the 5.57 of Roland Kinch. And then Tanja Yildiz now coming around the final corner. And wherever Andreas Schindler is, he's just come across the line. So he'll finish 4 laps down with Tanja Yildiz. Could have been a 4th position. He knows it. It's a real shame for the 5.72 from Germany, but still rounds out in 7th place. But Tom Dessert from Belgium in the 5.30 gets 1 step closer to the top step of the podium and 1 step closer to Le Mans this coming July.